Hello, I'm Doug Musio. This is City Talk. On February 7, 2010, the New York Times published a front-page story that reported on a survey by two criminologists which found that intense pressure to produce annual crime reductions led some NYPD supervisors and precinct commanders to manipulate crime statistics. The story stimulated sharp reactions. The Daily News, in a lead editorial titled "Mugging ComStat," thundered, "The two academics have libeled the NYPD and every police officer who worked his or her butt off in the long, hard fight to make New York City safer than the city has been in almost a half a century." The Post, not to be outdone editorially, called the study anti-cop idiocy. The police department reacted angrily, disputing the survey's findings, questioning its methodology, and pointing to more favorable reviews of ComStat. A case of lies, damn lies, and statistics? To talk about New York City crime statistics, ComStat, and the survey that created such intense reactions is Eli Silverman, Professor Emeritus at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, who authored the survey study with John Eterno of Molloy College. Eli is the author of NYPD Battles Crime, Innovative Strategy in Policing, the first in-depth study of the transformation of the NYPD, and he's the author of numerous studies of management innovations in policing. The survey will be included in the forthcoming book, Compstat Unveiled, The Naked Truth, which Professor Silverman is writing with Professor Eterno. Welcome back, Eli. It's been a long time.
Thank you very much. I welcome this opportunity.
Quite a reaction.
Yes.
Why the intensity of this reaction? You have everybody yelling. You rattled cages.
Well, one can only speculate, but when you raise questions about how people who have worked in the system perceive that system to be working and feel that there are many shortcomings, you are striking at the very foundation of how this administration operates, supposedly on data, accurate and timely data, which is supposedly the first element of the mantra of ComStat.
Okay. Now, ComStat has almost become a religion with its high priests and priestesses, and they came out and attacked you editorially and elsewhere. Now, you've responded. You wrote a letter to the Times. There was an op-ed in the news. You've got a new blog responding to these criticisms. What was the bottom line of this survey? Just outline what the survey found.
Well, first, I'd like to say that the reason we've wrote a blog and wrote the op-ed is because we've tried to respond to the criticisms in other avenues, and we've not been accepted. So our responses to the attacks have not been published. We tried to write an op-ed for the Times. We wrote a response to the Post's editorial, a letter that was not posted. So,
and you were before the editorial board of the news too, weren't you?
We spoke to the editor. They called us. We had lengthy discussions with them. We shared our findings with them. Then they called us up individually. They asked us questions which were hostile, but we still explained it. And everything we said to them was not in the editorial. And I might say with the Times too, we wrote an op-ed, but it was rejected on the same day that they published Mr. Bratton's op-ed.
Right.
And then I wrote back to them and thanked them for the speedy response. And I asked them, in view of Mr. Bratton's op-ed, would you entertain a totally different op-ed addressing his issues? And the response was, we're not going to deal with this issue for a bit. Okay. Well, I don't know how long a bit is, but we're up against reality, and reality says it's a vast machine. There's the police network, the editorial network, whoever wants to defend what is the status quo, and if you raise any criticism, it's like you say a religion.
Go ahead.
And I mean, I've supported ComStat, as you know, and I've been a long supporter in my work on it.
Absolutely. I mean, this book lays out all the strengths of
Exactly.
ComStat.
And we still support it, and our report supports it. And to get to your question, the motivation of this study was that there have been many anecdotal stuff about how it's working and not working. And no one's done an empirical analysis of how it's actually worked, based on people who have actually been in the system.
Okay, explain the methodology. I mean, what did you do?
The methodology is we started in 2007 to devise this survey, an anonymous survey, because based on all the literature and the social science, if you want to get at the truth, if you want to get honesty, you have to deal in anonymity. And there's a bunch, and we've been criticized because they're anonymous, but that's the only way you elicit it. And we field tested this survey with numerous people, academics and people in the police department, in terms of how legitimate. They tweaked it some. John, Eterno, and I, we're the ones who structured the interview, the survey questions. And all we added was 3 more questions that the Captains Endowment Association wanted in terms of their membership needs. We structured the survey. We took the results of that survey, which was very substantial. 391 responded, and 491. I'm sorry. And we actually interpreted. Now in our survey, we not only did the survey, but we've done a good number of qualitative and unstructured interviews with other people. So we have a wealth of data, some of which is not, much of it which is not yet reported. But we felt that it was timely to get this out. A, we've been lecturing on it in academic circles, well received, by the way. B, we're writing papers on it. And C, as you well know, there have been anecdotal stories that have come up in the papers.
Right.
The same papers that have criticized us.
Daily News, for example, has done a series of stories on the 81st Precinct and reported on problems in the 42nd Precinct in the Bronx.
And not only that, the Daily News did an opinion op-ed by a retired commander in the Presto who says, I was a commander, and what did I do? I was a commander of a precinct, and I didn't fudge the statistics, no. What I did is I just worked late on New Year's Eve. And why did I work late? Because I knew what my surrounding precincts were reporting, and I didn't want to be perceived as higher than they and then my statistics. So what did I do? I just shifted some of the crime from this year to the following year. I didn't fudge. Now, this was not done under duress. This is not under testimony. He openly says that. And we've had discussions with others on this particular point. Oh, yeah, that's done. Because no one wants to be in the hot seat when crime has gone up in their precinct.
Okay, in the Times story, you said that this report would be released in its full form once the Captains Endowment Association ran it by the PD. When are we likely to see the full report?
The Captains Endowment Association provided us with their membership list.
Right. And you were accused by, I guess, the mayor and the police department of actually them paying for the survey.
We were accused. It's a concerted accusation because the police department, the mayor, a very damaging attack, a rhetorical attack by Heather McDonald, also says in there that it was funded by the Captains Endowment Association. And therefore, what do you expect anything that's funded by?
Right.
Which is not true. My colleague John Eterno competed for a grant at Molloy College to fund the printing and the mailing of this survey.
Okay.
And that's where the money came from.
Okay. Now, one of the findings is that there is this intense pressure to decrease in the index crimes, the 7 crimes: murder, rape, robbery, felony and assault, burglary, grand larceny, and grand larceny auto. Now, one of the criticisms of the report says, well, how do you do this? I mean, how do you downgrade crimes from one level to another? Prove it.
Well, The stories are legion. I cannot tell you how many people we've interviewed or now recently reported to us. Just yesterday, for example, this is not in it, just yesterday, a retired police person recounted this story to me where his laptop was stolen from a restaurant right in front of him. The reporting officer came, and the retired officer said, my laptop's stolen. He says, no, I'm just going to list it as lost property. That's an example. I spoke to just, and there are many in our survey who report on. I spoke to a very retired, higher-ranking official in the police department who I knew who had retired, very high-ranking. Actually, I have two extremely. I can't identify them, of course. And one said his son lived in an area of Brooklyn. He was mugged. He tried to report it. He couldn't report it. So there are ways to discourage reporting of crime, recording of crime, and there are ways to downgrade crime from a felony to misdemeanor.
Okay, so but I mean, let me devil's advocate it here. You're talking about anecdotal data. Is there systematic data that would suggest this, other than the survey itself?
Well,
obviously?
there's not, the systematic data is a survey where a vast majority say that there have been highly unethical dealing with crime. Some even allege legally, but we didn't get into that because that's a separate area. But many of them report that since the advent of the new system, the pressure is intense to have lower crime. You have to realize that we don't argue that ComStat is an evil device. It's amenable. It's, as I said in the book, it's amenable to however the leadership wants it to be. And with the pressure, in reality, things have been turned on its head. The old days was that crime would inevitably go up until the early 90s. Then crime kept going down and down and down, and the expectation of the public changed. The expectation is we no longer will accept crime going up. And that pressure comes from on the political, it comes on the police department, and it radiates throughout the department. It's not a conspiracy. One of our critics said, oh, they believe in a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy. It's the way it comes out at roll call. One reporter has a taping of how it's done in a roll call. We want more arrests. We want more arrests. And there was one yesterday where someone is suing the police department because he feels he's been sent to Siberia, so to speak, because he's not made enough arrests.
Oh, so what you're saying is that the very success of driving down crime, or the fact that crime has declined so dramatically, puts added pressure. To a certain extent, there's almost a threshold below which it can't go, but the pressure is there to make it go lower and lower and lower.
Really, there's only so much you could squeeze an orange. And as you get more and more juice extracted, you're going to have to press harder and harder. I would share with you the number of police officials who have said to me years ago, we should have declared a success in the war against crime and not continue to raise expectations. I'm not arguing that crime has to go up because that's how it's going to be labeled.
Right.
But there has to be some element of reasonableness, especially with a declining police force. I think the police department has been very effective. We've not said that the crime hasn't gone down. We're not arguing that. But we don't know the true dimensions of it because there's besides anecdotes, there's now a body of evidence that raises concerns about this.
Okay, another issue surrounding ComStat is its role in the crime declines. For example, Heather McDonald in February 17th article in City Journal called ComStat and Its Enemies says, quote, since its inception, ComStat has driven down crime in New York an astonishing 77%. Now, it's not all ComStat. I mean, what do criminologists say caused it? I mean, clearly more proactive policing, which you argue here, is at least partially responsible.
Right.
What else is going on
It's
here?
interesting. Not only do I argue that in that book, but the same Heather McDonald that now calls me an enemy praised the book.
Yes, I know. You pointed this out to me.
So I've been
on the back of
converted
the
in a
book.
short amount of time from a true believer to a heretic, I guess. But criminologists are of different minds. It's now a cottage industry. You go to in the old days, we used to go to conferences and debate why crime invariably goes up. Now we debate why it goes down. There are a bunch of reasons that people talk about: socioeconomic reasons, racial disparities, root causes, the economy, and policing.
Well, and some people argue the decline of the crack
Yes,
epidemic.
the big brother,
and
little
the
brother.
Freakonomics
Right.
authors argue that abortions
You're right.
were a
You
factor.
pays your money and you takes your choice. There are many kind of explanations. I subscribe that it's multiple. I give a great deal of credit to the police. ComStat, it's not ComStat per se. ComStat encapsulates all the reforms, and they funnel their way through the ComStat. But when ComStat is turned on its head, in my epilogue to the book in 2001, I was concerned about that,
Right.
because I felt it was getting too centralized. And the original thrust of ComStat was not only to have crime data and have people accountable, but give them greater authority in their precincts and allow them to move people as they see fit and allow them to have innovative programs and not everything coming from the top.
Okay, and you talk about a matrix of things that funnel into ComStat. Like what? Zero tolerance policing?
Well, no, it's quality of life enforcement, it's up to date, it's sharing innovation, it's being diverse. It's like, there's an old saying, as you know, what matters is what gets measured.
Right.
And if you only measure crime stats, well, you could measure citizen satisfaction. You could measure how well we deal with domestic abuse. Number of times you visited the complainant. And
Right.
that happened at some of the ComStat meetings. Or the number of citizens' complaints, you could measure that. But when the police are at a ComStat meeting, they know how the wind will go because they know what's being talked about from the high levels.
Mm-hmm.
And that radiates and filters throughout the whole department because every borough has a representative at that ComStat meeting. If Brooklyn North is there, then Brooklyn South, Manhattan North, all the other boroughs have a representative there at that meeting, and then they take back the message to their hometown, their home people, and they say, this is what was discussed at ComStat, let's get on the same page. It's better than any grapevine. It's very effective. But when it gets distorted, then it misses the point.
So you're basically saying that's what's not counted is discounted, and that there are other measures of police performance other than the ones that ComStat uses.
Yes, and ComStat is versatile enough to measure a variety of things, but it's what the leadership chooses to measure at the time. And if it's only going to then this is going to be ignored because your promotion, your recognition, the way you advance is based on how well you do in this meeting.
Okay, let me turn to some criticisms
Sure.
that have been made by both the author of the piece, William Rashbaum, and the NYPD and others. One, they argue that it's unclear when the officers retired, making it impossible to say whether the alleged manipulations came early or later, or when in one administration or not another. Respond.
This is very interesting because the day before this article appeared, the author, Rashbaum, or 2 days before, whenever, he shared our data with the police department as a courtesy, which was fair.
Right.
I have no problem with
Right.
that. I would like to see their response, but other than their official. I received a call from the chief spokesman of the police department.
Paul Brown.
Yes, before it came out. Very polite, very courteous, and I find him to be a very decent, courteous man. And one of the things he asked me was precisely this question. Well, how come you don't have the dates, so blah,
Right.
blah. And I said, well, you know, if we purposely did it because you know this is an anonymous survey, and you know that if, say, a deputy chief retired and identified, he retired in 1996, and before I could finish the sentence, he said, then you would be able to identify him. I said, that's
So
right.
it's an anonymity question.
Right. Not only that, but what gets me is even after I made the explanation, and offered the explanation, it's still been thrown out as, why the hell did you do that?
Okay.
So they know the reason.
Okay. Second critique. It did not measure the frequency of any manipulation.
Right, because that was not the purpose of it. You have a survey. You are limited. It's a 4-page, 2 sides of a page. You're limited. There's certain things you have to sacrifice. In
No,
any
I understand.
as you well know. Right, exactly. So we limited to small pages, 2 sides of both 2 pages. And it's not our job. If the department really wanted to know this, see, here's the thing. The department says you didn't look at that, but yet the department has not practiced transparency at all.
In what way?
Well, let's go back. We have a number of reporters who have filed for information on Freedom of Information law and have been rejected. They're a city commission, the Commission to Combat Police Corruption in the year 2000.
The Pomerantz Commission.
That's exactly right. A respected federal prosecutor in 2005 responding to the PBA's allegations, responding to all the anecdotes that go back years. I have documents of these, asked the police department for its material to audit, to review its material to get at this. Yeah, it was a city agency, mayoral agency, mind you. What happened? The police department stonewalled it. They stonewalled on the allegation, on the reason they stated that it's not within the ambit of police corruption.
Okay. Okay.
So the same people say we haven't been thorough. And not only that, if I have to, while I'm on the subject,
you're hot. Go ahead. I can see it.
The police department says, well, our study is inadequate. They say our study is inadequate. What do they rely on? They rely on a study that they asked a professor from NYU.
As a matter of fact, a friend, Dennis Smith, but go ahead.
Well, fine.
Go ahead. What's the nature of the study?
The nature of the study is on the capability of their auditing.
Okay.
The NYPD's auditing.
And they do auditing. Ray Kelly, in his response, said every precinct gets audited.
They do. They audit twice a year. Right. But we don't know what they catch and don't know. And plus the fact no one's done this Smith study, NYU study, that says that it's all peaches and cream.
Is that what the conclusion was?
Yes.
Okay.
Not in
Go
those
ahead.
words,
God,
but
no, okay.
you know what I mean.
Yes.
That it's the most, in fact, McDonald cites it, it's the most extensive auditing in any major city. But what they have, footnote number 2, readers of that report, says that this study is based on interviews with the people in the department and not based on any external examination of their audits.
Oh, so they don't look at the audits themselves.
No.
Okay, stop.
They say that.
Okay.
So, it's fine. So they use that as a hammer against us, and the record speaks for itself.
Okay. Critique 3, did not identify specific acts of misconduct.
We have many acts of misconduct, and we have people report. They don't report names, but they report, I don't know, by acts. They report type of things that were done. We're not here to catch people.
Right.
We're not an audit. We're not an investigative commission. We're not here. If the department was really interested in unearthing this, they can unearth it. And by the way, their audits, when they do their audits, a far higher number raise the classification than lower it. So yes. So and I would ask the question, they audit. What was the reason for this intensity of audits? Why did they have to upgrade their auditing?
Well, let me speak for them. Because they're worried about exactly what you're worried about.
Yes, they're worried about it. But you see, it's nice to catch the horse out of it when it's run out of the barn. But you're dealing with the end product, not the beginning product.
So you're saying it's internal.
I'm saying yes, but also the beginning product is the intense pressure that comes from the outside world. Okay. And everyone feels it, and everyone is aware of it. And when someone comes from a ComStat meeting, a supervisor, and comes back to his or her precinct, the other people know it.
Okay, we have a minute.
Wow.
You're the police commissioner, new one. I'm the new mayor. What do you do?
First of all, I think you got to say what can we realistically expect with what level of police do we have?
Okay.
What's a realistic? What can we?
Will the public buy it?
Well,
Will the mayor buy it?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm the police commissioner. I'm going to have this discussion with the mayor. What's reasonable? You have to realize that the police have gone down in numbers.
Right. Thousands.
You're asking these people to do an incredible job.
And crime has gone down.
Crime
You can feel it. You can feel it on the streets.
Absolutely. And they have more and more people allocated to terrorism. You have fine leadership in this department. We're the first to say that. And we have a great deal of respect. But you have to get a hold of what's going on in the environment and what it's doing to people.
Okay. Thank you. My thanks to Eli Silverman for being on the show. Next week, we'll revisit a conversation I had with Eli Noem, author of Media Ownership and Concentration in America. Tune in. Hello, I'm Doug Musio. Let us know what you think about this show. You can reach us at CUNY.tv. When you get there, click on the bar that says Contact Us and send your email. Whatever it is. Thanks, no thanks, obnoxious, do it. Send it.